In this Learn It Quick video, we are going to dive a little deeper into form extensions. So in our last video, we discussed application UDOs, or UDOs that change the appearance and function of an application. In this Learn It Live teaching video, we're going to dive into the power of form extensions. Form extensions are one of the most powerful UDO tools that could be utilized as a company. Well, why is that? Well, form extensions give us that ability to add and to subtract to a specific application and to add a specific form. This means that many of the changes that you have used as a developer to make on a form no longer have to happen with custom code. And that really alleviates the problem of custom code when you have to go through an upgrade. Then above and beyond that, the form extensions also give us the ability to use three powerful Orchestrator Studio content development tools. We can add orchestrations, notifications, and logic extensions. So our form extensions are a gateway to adding to the functionality of a specific application out of the designed functionality created by Oracle. Orchestrations give us the ability to automate processes. Notifications give us the ability to communicate across JD Edwards, and logic extensions give us the ability to add code within an application. So let's take a look inside of JD Edwards. Here inside the Customer Ledger Inquiry application, from here we're going to open up the Form Extension Manager. This is the Form Extension Manager, where we can see on the left-hand side all of these red minus signs next to all these fields. So in the initial release of form extensions, they gave us the ability to do some of the following things. To be able to remove fields, we could also resize fields. We can mark fields as required. Also, we can add associated descriptions. We can move all of these fields around, move fields and add and subtract from the form and row exits. Additionally, we could also add to the fields in the header, but not just the header, but also to the grid based on the business view within this specific application and form we're looking at. So over here on the right, you'll see that it shows the associated business view for this form, and it shows us that we have this business view. As you know, not all applications show all of the fields that are part of an associated business view. But with the use of the Form Extension Manager, we can add any field that is a part of that business view, and those can be added to both the header or to the grid. So if we just stop there with the functionality of form extensions, well, we would say, man, that's really great. This removes a lot of that custom code that I was already having to do in my applications. But the additional enhancements that were eventually added inside of here were equally impressive. So you'll see up here, there are two things I want to show you. The first is where it shows us the Add button. This gives us the ability to add a button onto our page or our header, which can be mapped to any of our Orchestrator Studio content, which leads me to talk about the item right above this one that says Associate Orchestrations. When I click on this, this opens up the orchestration wizard. And you will see on this page, when we look at it, that it shows orchestrations, notifications, and logic extensions. And we can select any of our content created from the Orchestrator Studio to be associated with this application and form. So we can select whatever orchestration that we want, and then we can go through the process of deciding how we're going to utilize that piece of content. The wizard points us first to select what event will actually execute the orchestration or notification. So we can select to have the button that we have just added to the screen be that event, so like clicking on the button. Or we could make it one of many other actions, such as entering a field, or even opening the application, tabbing off a field, clicking on the visual assist. Many different events we could choose from to actually execute an orchestration. And then as we map them, we're connecting the application to the beginning of our orchestration that we've selected and the requirements the orchestration requires to execute it. So on this next screen, we have some choices to make on whether we run the application synchronously or not, messaging, and so on and so forth. Then we go on to the output screen and we complete any outputs that will be returned to this screen and to the fields we want populated. This is where we can use things such as logic extensions that can take inputs from the application, perform advanced arithmetic functions, all sorts of other things, and do extensive code manipulation and return those outputs seamlessly into our application. Then we go ahead and save our form extension. One important note about form extensions is that a form extension is the only UDO that is available to only one person to create it, and it applies to all versions of that form on the specific application. Now, this is done so that the form extension changes are universal across all versions of an application form. Now, this is an important distinction when we're working with form extensions, and it is a factor when we design our form extensions. There have been additional capability of working with this feature that has been added to logic extensions with a tool called form control extensions. So if you want to dive deeper into that, you can look at the documentation, or you can explore our videos in the EOne Academy. Once we have saved our form extension, we can test to see if the form extension is performing or displaying the changes that we have made. I'm going to go over to the address book revision application and show you how we've added some logic behind adding a record inside of the address book application. So here on an add screen, and in this instance, you can see as I'm adding this new record into the screen, it's going to call a logic extension when I tab off of this field right here. And you can see it's going to go ahead and repopulate the long address number field here with the logic that has been manipulated inside the Orchestrator Studio. It's really cool and very, very valuable. So that's a little glimpse into form extensions and the power that it has within an application inside of EnterpriseOne.